A typical Valentine's Day message might be something like, "You stole my heart." Well, in Joe Biden's America, his Valentine's Day message to the nation was, "I'm going to take your guns." Hey, everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and this is Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Gentlemen, on Valentine's Day, Sunday, February 14th, President Joe Asterisk announced his common sense gun control proposal, which follows closely with the radical legislation already introduced into the House by Texas Congress critter Sheila Jackson Lee. Joe Biden said, and this is a quote, "Today I am calling on Congress to enact common sense gun law reforms." That's common sense instead of radical, and gun law reforms instead of gun confiscation, including requiring background checks on all gun sales, banning assault weapons, that's pretty much any semi-automatic rifle or pistol, and high-capacity magazines, that's anything more than 10, and eliminating immunity for gun manufacturers who knowingly put weapons of war on our streets. Bill, as I read this statement, it sounds like a declaration of war on American gun manufacturers, because I think the secret is in that last line, that the idea that the Democrats have, or at least the more radical Democrats like Moderate Joe, is to sue the gun manufacturers out of existence. Does this remind you of all of Operation Checkpoint from the Obama years?
I don't remember Operation Checkpoint.
Or Choke Point, excuse me. That meant going after the banks for authorizing transactions that involved ammo and such, anything they didn't like.
I see. Well, I have to say, first of all, that to me, a sensible gun law is mandatory carry.
Yeah.
From the age of 4, start them off with a 22 at 4, and then I think you probably get into your 9mm by the time you're in your teens. And then when you get to be a man, my son, at age 18 or 21, depending on your state, you get your 45 caliber 1911 A1, which is actually an artillery piece. In any event, this is the only thing that actually genuinely concerns me, Steve. There's just no world where they come to your house and start pulling guns out of your house. Just not going to happen. I used to own an assault rifle before it fell overboard in a tragic boating accident, so I don't have that weapon anymore, unfortunately. But nevertheless, they're not going to. I just cannot imagine a world where that happens. But suing the gun manufacturers, changing the law so that gun manufacturers can be sued, is in fact, I think, something to be genuinely concerned about. Then, of course, you'd have to ask the question: well, if you get to sue a gun manufacturer for somebody murdering somebody, do you get to sue? Do you get to sue? Come on, Bill. I just completely choked.
Oh no, this happens sometimes.
Do you get to sue Canadian Club because somebody had a highball and your scotch was in there, and then they ended up driving drunk and hit a car and murdered somebody? There's no difference there. The only time you really can sue a manufacturer is if the product doesn't work, right? I mean, that's really it. Is you've got a car with a defect or something dangerous like that. If the product doesn't work, that's when you sue the manufacturer. What Biden is talking about doing here is putting a law in place that allows you to sue the manufacturer if the product works. And so you have to ask yourself, if I was a gun manufacturer, I would ask that exact question. Well, do spoons make people fat? If we are going to be held responsible for the laws that people break while using our product, then certainly that must apply to every other thing in the world. You sue knife manufacturers for a knife murder, you can, all of it. So that's how I would deal with it. But, I think it's just posturing, and I really don't think that Joe's capable of much more than that, really, to be honest with you. We'll see.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. My worry isn't so much that Sheila Jackson Lee's legislation makes it through Congress as written, because I don't think it can. It's really radical stuff. Just to give you an idea here, requires licensing for possession of firearms and ammunition with a fee that is yet to be specified. Require additional licensing, again, cost not specified, to display an antique firearm in your own home. more licensing, again, cost not specified, for military-style weapons. That's pretty much anything semi-automatic if you look at the language of the bill. Require firearm liability insurance, even though we can sue the gun manufacturers, with a yearly fee of $800 payable to the U.S. Attorney General. Let's just call that a government slush fund, because that's what it would be. And to establish a detailed federal firearm registration system to which the public, all federal, state, and local law enforcement, all governments, and all branches of the U.S. Armed Forces would have complete access. So, yeah, this is pretty radical legislation, which reminds me, Scott, since we've got 100 million firearms owners in this country in possession of some 300 million at least firearms, and Joe Biden going to war against them, what happened to unity?
Yeah, I'm with Bill on this one. I don't think this one's going anywhere. I mean, notwithstanding the anniversary date of February 14th, no presidential administration announces a major initiative on a Sunday. That's how you bury the news. And so if you really, it's kind of like dumping something late on Friday, announcing it on Sunday is just not a great time to put that out there. The geeks who are tapped into such things will hear about it, guys like us. But the vast majority of Americans are not paying much attention to the news on a Sunday. And I frankly haven't seen much of it in the news since then. So I think that this is the Biden administration's way of saying, I care about this kind of thing, with knowing full well that calling for common sense gun reforms is going to go nowhere in Congress. They'll debate about it. Some of the really hard left Democrats who are, anti-constitutional and natural rights will make a big stink about it. Some of the really, solid Second Amendment Republicans will feel compelled to respond. A lot of great fundraising will happen as a result of this. That's really what the beauty of all of this is. And ultimately, nothing will come of it. The idea, Steve, especially, I jotted down that phrase that you said, that immunity for manufacturers who knowingly put weapons of war on our streets. First of all, are there any manufacturers who are standing up and going, no, as we put weapons of war on the streets, we have immunity. You can't touch us for that. Nobody's thinking that way. They're only weapons of war when used with people who are committing acts of war. All of the other things you described will fatten government coffers, will increase the employment for government agencies, will increase various kinds of regulation, but will not stop a single mass shooting. Nobody is taking a Kentucky Square rifle off the wall and going out there and shooting up the shopping mall. And so that ridiculous stuff about antique weapons and things like that, this is not where the problem lies. And I think enough Democrats still understand that to fight this off. I do think that this could be part of a Democratic strategy to say, hey, let's get the right all lathered up about gun rights again so we can do the things we really care about.
Well, that could be a little distraction, a little sleight of hand here. Although I have to say, if I'm going to have a weapon of war on the streets, it's going to be an M1A2 Abrams main battle tank, and I'll park wherever the hell I want. It would be so nice. I wouldn't even have to worry about ice and snow anymore. Anyway, folks, let's call this bill what it is. Dead in the water, I hope. But since we know that Democratic cities like the one Sheila Jackson Lee represents, Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, all the rest, have the most draconian gun laws they can already get away with, and the worst crime in the nation, I think it's fair to say that this is actually the Suburban and Rural Communities Disarmament Act of 2021. And I really do hope it's DOA. What I find interesting is with redistricting going on this year and the Democrats looking like they're in trouble in the House in 2022, why they would choose to push this when everyone from Bill Clinton down, who remembers 1994, will tell you that that's what cost the Democrats the House for the first time in more than 40 years. And it's been a seesaw ever since. They've never gotten that stranglehold on the House again. For them to risk it like this tells me that either they hope everybody will forget about it before November of 2022, or they think they own the election machine so well that they'll keep control of the House no matter what they do. That's the one that keeps me up at night. So we'll see what happens. What I would like you to do, though, if you're watching this, is to call or write your Congress critter and tell them no on H.R. 127. That's Sheila Jackson Lee's gun control, gun ban, gun confiscation bill. H.R. 127. Call your congressman. Tell them no. And that is your right angle on that, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. I got to remind you, content like this needs sponsors like you. If you've been watching for free, go to BillWhittle.com, become a member, or even just make a one-time donation as kind of a tip for a show that you really liked. Thanks. We'll see you next time.